That's a good move. We need something to support our currency. I mean, the Ghanaian CD is not supported basically by anything. And, well, what we have is government money. We have left the gold standard for a very long time. That notwithstanding, gold is still #1 currency in the world. That has kept its value over centuries of time. And therefore, we have an upper hand in actually building a very good gold reserve. And I thought that, yes, we can use our somehow weak cedi to procure a stronger currency in terms of gold and have it as our reserve. Even though with payment of debt, we can use gold to pay part of our debt. And once gold prices goes up, your currency then gets more weight. And I think that is a step in the right direction.
But how would that help the currency? Because one of the things they are talking about is the cedi.
Yes. You see, so the thing about money is that it has to be difficult to come by, to generate it. Gold is one of the things that is very difficult to generate. In fact, the statistics have it that since the 1994, yes, we have not been, the whole world, we've not been able to produce more than 2% of the stockpile of gold. Production of current gold each year cannot exceed 2%. So you see how scarce gold is. And then the other thing about gold is that it goes across borders. It is accepted in Togo, it is accepted in Ivory Coast, it's accepted in the US and all that. So you can have it scaled as well. So that makes it a perfect money compared to the government money, which for me it is inferior. Like your cedi is a government money. The government is only forcing us to use that. If we all have to choose money, we wouldn't have chosen the cedi. We would have chosen something else. And that makes gold a perfect money. Now you keep a reserve of cedis in your vault, right? Which is depreciating every day in value, right? Do you wish to keep that against a currency in gold, which has the capabilities to increase in value? So you would have to weigh and have a hedge in between in there.
And that is where gold comes in.
Exactly.
Okay, but let's go back to the economy. Of course, we'll come back to the cedi.
Right.
Your response was that you are, so it means you are balancing things now to see how it goes. And I also recall the last time, one of the conversations we had was the struggles of the average importer. And sometimes exporters too. At our ports. So fast forward, we have the budget now. The budget is now even talking about the benchmark values being taken off. We've spoken to the traders who are telling us that shipping costs alone, in fact, they said the free charges actually for container used to be a little above $3,000. Now they are paying close to $15,000 for one, is it 4-footer or something?
40-footer.
40-footer container that they are paying for. And then you add all that to shipping charges that are also going up among others. And then the benchmark values thing hits. What does this mean? Because we were talking about it the last time. Exactly what does this mean to the average trader?
Well, it means that certainly we cannot be we cannot have enough production, we cannot be productive enough, and we cannot create an orientation that is superior in terms of price, quality, and the volumes. Yes, like you rightly said, 40-footer containers are now going for, depending on the destination, right? you are looking around 18,000 maximum.
Okay.
Yes, for 40 footer. And you are looking
$18,000.
Yes, $18,000. Not to talk about our port charges. Sometimes we do forget about that. That you will pay container fees, you will pay that. There are a lot of charges you pay to the port authorities as well. That's notwithstanding the duty itself and all that. You know, I think it is about time we rationalize our import and rationalize it well.
Okay.
What the issues about this benchmark? I thought if there is anything, we should be targeting certain industries, and we should even intensify it, and not to rather remove some of the products out of it. If you realize they have taken most of the aluminium, plastic, and all that, and we do not have any industry in regards to that here. So what is the essence of removing that? You know, it's just a matter of looking at the volumes in there, looking at the figures in there, and then deciding that, look, let's go tax it, and we would make or rake in such revenues, which would adversely affect production.
Okay.
Because you see, the plastic, most of these packaging materials,
Okay.
to have it done here, it's expensive, and sometimes the quality does not even support the goods, especially in our food industry. Right? So, on what basis, what informed you to actually take the benchmark value delivery out on those goods?
Plastics.
Yes.
No.
Packaging materials.
You're saying that the packaging materials we produce here,
Yes.
they are not durable enough for the purpose
Yes,
for which
they are not durable enough. They cannot produce the quantities that is needed, and all that. Now, if you are taking it off, you are doing two things. The one who is even producing here is affected. The one who is bringing it in is also affected. Through import, finished, is also affected. And you see, some of the machines that we have were not built here. So it is difficult for them to produce the packaging materials here to support the machines that we have for packaging here. That is one other issue, right? So I think they should have done more than just sitting back and looking at figures. Because you see, there is no justification for removing these benchmark values. In terms of import duties, in 2020, government made so much, more than the targeted revenue, right? The initial budget was 5.9 billion. The revised budget after COVID was 5.4 billion. The provisional out 10 was 8.112 billion. So where is the justification? And up to now, I've not heard the government said anything about investigating why we made so much in terms of duties. In the year, we always started as import contraction and all that. Nobody is looking at that.
You're saying that even in the difficulties that we've experienced, government still exceeded its
revenue targets. Yes.
In the other ports?
Yes, other ports. So it is never true that
they were making less?
Yes.
But there's also the part where when I speak to the groups, they say this was actually something that was instigated by AGI, the Association of Ghana Industries. Which essentially maybe is saying that the imports that are being brought in are cheaper than the goods that they are producing. So that makes their goods uncompetitive and they are losing out on the markets.
Absolutely. As for that, it is always there. As for that, it's always there. How do we find a middle line to raise revenue and still propel production? That is up to government. And that is why I keep saying that This economic thing of looking at the plotted lines and curves and all that,
Graphs, yeah.
it's not helping.
Okay.
You need a more accounting-based analysis of what is going on and how the market is reacting
Okay.
to take decision.
Okay.
If you don't do that and you sit down there saying that you have read the Kenny's books and of economics, and therefore if you look at the curve, this year we put in so much and this is what came out, and therefore look, if we put in so much will come out. It's not working.
Okay.
It has not worked for us.
And you see this whole move of the benchmark as somebody just looking at the graphs and saying, okay, so if you are able to generate this much at this time, what if we increase the benchmark values? This will give us more.
Absolutely. That's all they are doing. They are not looking at the other end. Okay. These imports, what are they going into?
Okay.
Right? Because something like aluminium, mostly it is not a finished product.
So they bring it in.
They bring it in and use it for production.
Okay, so it's more like a raw material.
It's more like a raw material.
Okay.
So the moment you take it out of the benchmark values and you do not grant the 50% any longer, then what you have done basically is to have reduced the volumes that will be brought in, and therefore production will be less and your taxes will also go down.
Okay. So the person's the money that the person has at hand to buy
exactly
will buy less.
Will buy less.
Okay. So definitely your taxes
and it will produce less.
Okay.
Now for all those who are producing, right? And that is why I say it's supposed to be targeted. For all those who are producing, look, they are using electricity,
okay,
which has taxes. They are paying labor, which is taxes. They are renting commercial buildings, which you are taking 15% tax.
Okay.
So you see how a common import, right, will spread around and create more value at each stage of the value chain,
okay,
and actually give back to government in terms of taxes. Now, when you reduce that, I would think of reducing my staff. If I have to keep the same volumes, I would think of renting a smaller place. What you are doing is shrinking the economy.
So the impact of something like this is basically shrinkage.
Exactly.
It will not stimulate economic activity
It will not.
in any way.
No.
But for the average importer, what that means is that your business just keeps shrinking and becoming smaller.
Of course. You see, one thing we do not realize that when you increase prices or when you increase taxes, it discourages people to actually, one, declare, or to actually go into the business in the first place and produce more.
Okay.
Right. Now, if the effect of reducing taxes is to grow volumes, so the moment you read a budget and the perception is, well, this is an increment in taxes, government demands more from us, already it is a bad perception for doing business.
Okay.
So in terms of communicating even the budget, we must center it very well,
Okay.
to be productive. It's one thing forming a policy and another thing communicating the policies.
Okay.
And where you focus some of the main headline, how you focus and place it. Now, what has happened now? It's telling Ghanaians that, hey, beware, we are coming for more. And nobody like paying taxes.
Okay.
So everybody will start protecting or finding other ways and means. You know, Dr. Baumia had said earlier that these benchmark values was to limit smuggling.
Yeah.
So what happened now? when these things are being introduced at such difficult time. You are going to increase smuggling. So you would have under declarations at the ports. You know, people will under declare. And at the end of the day, you will not collect the tax you had wanted to collect. You will not meet your target. So come 2022, when we are all reading the 2023 budgets, then we'll realize that, oh, we've missed all the targets. And that is where the issues are.
But really, from your understanding of the way things are currently, is this the best time to attempt something like this?
No, it was a wrong move at the wrong time.
The timing is completely wrong.
Is completely wrong. The timing is completely wrong. When growth has gotten to a certain stage where you can realize clearly that, okay, with even COVID, we have normalcy, you know, where your deficits are a bit okay to go. In fact, what you should have done is to give more into production.
Okay.
Encourage people to find Ghana attractive to invest in. Okay. Look, there are monies hovering around the whole world looking for a conducive place to do business. Now, if you tell me that today you are raising your taxes, you are taking certain incentive away from production, what is going to happen is that I'll find the next available place. Look, the only thing that we seems to have better than Ivory Coast is our stability.
Okay.
If not, most of the companies thinking of West Africa would go to Ivory Coast or Nigeria because they get more if they are going into production.
Okay. Okay.
So
the Ivorian system is much more favorable?
Oh yes, much more favorable.
What makes them?
Well, if you employ staff, you pay the staff a PAY, you pay the taxes on the staff. You know, somehow it is your cost, somehow it is your ability to pay a certain amount to the person.
Okay.
Now, if you are in Ivory Coast, if I'm operating in Ivory Coast and I'm paying a staff 500 cedis, he goes home with the 500 cedis without tax.
In Ivory Coast?
In Ivory Coast. In Ghana, after 200 cedis, you are being taxed.
Okay. So their threshold for income tax
is
higher.
It's higher. You know, I used Ivory Coast because that's close to us. If you look at the US, it's worse. The Trump job and tax cuts that they brought in, someone earning $19,000 a year basically pays nothing compared to a Ghanaian who is earning the same amount in a year.
$19,000 a year.
Yes,
that's significant in Ghana.
Exactly. But let's assume that is more an advanced country.
Okay.
But here, Ivory Coast,
okay.
Next door. I mean, our economic structure are basically similar to each other. Right? Now, companies who move to the northern side of Ivory Coast enjoy free water. They have cuts on their electricity bills.
If you operate in the northern part of Côte d'Ivoire,
Ivory Coast.
Free water.
Yes.
Cuts on electricity.
Exactly.
To set up there.
Exactly. Nigeria is offering something similar.
Okay.
There are industries in Ghana today that have regretted coming here. They wish they could have gone to Nigeria or whatever, because they are protected more in Nigeria, and there are some incentive that they would have wished to enjoy in there.
What are we missing? Because you're saying that this whole thing that we keep doing year after year, it's all because the people are not doing the hard work of going through the numbers, trying to understand the numbers, trying to understand the economy, where the production is coming from, even when you are exceeding your revenue target, where did it come from, and
Exactly.
all these GDP figures that they throw about. You're saying that's the basic thing that our managers are failing at.
Of course. As for the GDP, I don't want to hear it. You know why? The way we are computing our GDP and the structure of our economy give us out.
Okay.
When the US talk of their GDP, it is based on income.
Income.
Yes, it's based on income.
Income as
What
in
you
individual
earn,
incomes.
Yes.
Okay.
The income a company earns,
Okay.
income I earn. Yes, everybody. It's based on the income. And therefore, when they say GDP had grew to a certain stage, it reflects on the living standard of the American.
Okay.
Now, when you go and borrow money and build an interchange and value the interchange in terms of the construction cost and everything, and add it up to your GDP and tells us that, okay, we had this much of growth, how does that reflect on the living standard of the average Ghanaian? So we must look at it closely, what we really intend to do in terms of our accounting itself.
Okay.
Because, look, if we keep lying to ourselves, because what we are doing is basically what happened in the 2007 in the US,
Okay.
where people go for mortgage homes and they use those same homes to go and borrow. That's it. And then at the end of the day, when the crunch came and you want to go sell those property, you realize that the property has absolutely no value. Nobody is prepared to buy. And therefore the loans also would fail. The mortgages would fail, which nearly collapsed the US economy. It's exactly what we are doing with our GDP. Now, when you borrow to build the assets, and the asset becomes part of your GDP computations, and then you turn around and say that because of my GDP growth, I can go out there and borrow. It's the same thing that collapsed the US economy, which you are doing here.
Okay.
So I suggest that, look, it's time. We have to look at our accounting again. We have to look at these figures again and how we wish to actually compute them to help us. Yes, it will be difficult because of our system and the way and manner in which we operate here. But I thought all that was part of this financial inclusion and all that, so that we can have better platform to actually compute these figures.
Okay.
But what we are doing and the actions we are taking today will erode all these gains we are making.
Okay. Okay. Well, if you just join us, we are having a conversation with Nii Yarboi Annan, who is a financial analyst. He is now basically becoming a regular in my studio. At least, let's say I've hosted you once every year. So we're talking about the budgets, and we started with the issue with the benchmarks. A lot of people are not talking about it, because now if you go to our markets, everybody is complaining about the constant increases in the prices of goods and commodities. Today I went to buy this for 200. Tomorrow now it is now 250. Before you realize 3 days after it will be 300, and all those. So something like the benchmark values worsens that.
Of course, I mean, it's certainly going to impact on prices because, look, that is about, for vehicles, 30%. For some of these products, it's 50% benchmark values that were being used.
Okay.
So the moment you take that out, it changes everything, and therefore your cost goes up. Mind you, when computing the VAT component of the imports, right, they will add your CIF value, that's your costs, your insurance, and your freight, to the duty, and then VAT it. Now, with this 6% that we are having as levy, that has been taken away from the VAT input and output kind of a thing that you can reclaim and all that, yes, has become static costs now. So that is also built on. And then your VAT 12.5 reacts on the CIF plus the duty plus the levies of 6%.
Okay.
So the moment you touch the component in terms of duties, you have changed everything. And so definitely you would have costs going up more than 30%.
Okay. So at least 30%.
At least 30%. And 30% is even on the vehicles.
So for something like sugar, we do not produce a gram of sugar in Ghana.
Yes.
So for something like sugar, you're looking at if they want to pass on costs, at least by 50%.
By 50%. Yes.
And that also has implications for the economy.
Absolutely.
And people's spending power.
Absolutely. It means that you now have to spend more for sugar.
There's also the part of the e-levy, because there's everybody is now doing it's the fastest way to deal with people anyway. Absolutely. Because nowadays it's easier for one businessman, especially when you are doing smaller transactions comparatively. It's not, you don't have to be issuing checks and everything. All you have to do is move monies electronically from one place to another. How did it sound to you when you heard it?
Well, I think I wasn't surprised.
You were not?
Yes.
You somehow anticipated that you were going to go there.
I mean, if you had monitored Dr. Baomia's speeches over the years, you would have realized this is where they are looking at. When he said, we made an investment of $4.5 million in terms of the interoperability, and now the figures have shot up to about 500 billion in terms of monies that goes across the platform, then you should realize that they are looking at taxing it. So really, I wasn't surprised.
We were looking at it from the perspective, actually, of the fact that we're trying to get a lot more people.
Well,
a cashless society. That's what
for me. I've had my issues with Momo. I still don't believe in the Momo thing.
Okay.
And how probably we operate it. Look, if you have a debit card and you want to load money onto your Apple Pay or Amazon Pay and all that, you are given a discount.
Okay.
Why? Because it's just like savings, right? If I should put money with you for some time, right, and you can turn around to use that money to finance your operations, or borrow that money to somebody else and make money, then I deserve a bit of that.
Okay.
And that is banking. Yeah. And that's what we call maturity transformation. Okay. What is the float that you hold? And what do you do with that float? Okay. Mind you, we are all basically dealing with some digital bits by sending money across. But the back end lies your real money.
Okay.
Right? What is that money being used for? Somebody is trading with that money. There are margins out of that trade. Right? Government is taking its bets through taxes. Me, who worked for that money and placed that money with you, what do I get? Nothing. Now, when you go to the bank or when I give you a check and I'm paying you, the bank don't charge me. Neither are you charged for taking the money.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
But on Momo, I'm being charged.
And then I am charged for withdrawing.
And then you are also charged for withdrawing it. So in fact, when you put 1,000 cedis on Momo, the real value of that 1,000 cedis, right, become like 998. Yeah. That's the real value. And that is inflationary. If you cast your mind back some few years ago, you know, at our lorry stations, we used to have these guys who change money.
Yeah.
You know,
I think we still do.
They still do.
Yeah.
So what's the difference between that and Momo? Yet we discourage that. And we ask people to move into the banks and do that, where you get the exact value of what you tender in. What's the difference?
Okay.
Right? So yes, we are trading on the Momo platform. But what we are doing is to say that anything that costs 1,000 cedis, you would have to put 1% at both ends, basically 2%, already as charges. So the price of 1,000 cedis is no longer 1,000 cedis. That is what we are doing with Momo.
Okay.
Now, we have not resolved that. Then we jump into e-tax, worsening the issue. So to operate the Momo platform, if I say I am selling this phone for 1,000 cedis, the actual cost to you who would want to buy is more than
1,000. The 1,000 that you're paying.
Exactly. So what have you done to pricing and therefore inflation? Why would your currency, the cedi, not keep depreciating?
Okay.
Because on the Momo platform, it is losing its value. The number of times the money moves around, it loses its value.
Okay.
And I am sorry, but do we have economists? Do we have people advising government? Do we really know what we are doing and the effect of the things we do? I don't think so.
So you think the first problem to resolve is that even if you wanted to do something like that, you deal with what is happening to money on Momo?
Exactly. Because look at the money first and foremost. Look at what money is doing on that platform. People are using it to trade, no doubt about that.
Yeah.
Do you tax the trade? Or you tax the earnings or the gains out of the trade? What we are doing basically is taxing the trade itself. And that is why you will erode all these financial inclusion gains we have made over these few years. Because now people will start thinking. Already, people have reservation with the charges on Momo. Then comes in the taxes, of course. And mind you, the volumes in terms of Momo being used to buy data is also very high. Now, this is a government that is touting itself as the government that is digitalizing Ghana. Granted.
Okay.
Now, the pipeline for all these e-commerce platforms to run on, you are making it more expensive. What is going to happen is that people usage on that platforms or the internet usage would have to be dropped or will drop if the market reacts adversely to that.
Already people are paying a 1% charge. It's not significant.
Very significant.
And then you are adding 1.75%
Exactly.
for no value added.
For no value added.
So you think that automatically anybody who values money will take it off the platform?
Of course, anybody who understands money. Look, even if people do not realize this, over a period, watch what is going to happen. Government is saying 500,000 would be the new limit for no longer 200,000. So 500,000, you are assume a small company.
Okay.
Divided by 52, divided by 5 days. You are talking about 1,900. Assuming this person trades through Momo, what you are doing is that each day you are going to tax 100 cedis free at 0%, and then 1,800 cedis is going to be taxed at 1.7. Now, even if the person does not account to itself what he does, with the passage of time and accumulation of trade, the person will realize that, hey, a chunk of my money is being taken out without any real value being given to me. So let me find another way of doing business. And that is what is more dangerous to this economy.
Wow. But even on that score, the e-levy issue, there are still questions about exactly where it applies. We're talking about Momo. A lot of focus is on Momo. Before I go to bank transactions, there has been two comments that have been made. That the first one is by also the Minister for Communications Law, who says, I'm sure you've heard that, that if you can move 100 Ghana cedis a day, you are not poor.
Well, I think we should pardon her. I presume that is like a platform talk, and I don't believe she had really sat down to think through what she did say, and so we should ignore that comment. Why would I say we should ignore that comment? If yourself, the budget you read, you are trying to exempt certain people by calling them small businesses. Now, Momo is not only about individuals. People are running basically their companies on Momo. I know companies that are doing good. They are big companies, I mean, in terms of sizes. And they are accepting Momo. Right? So, are you saying that for such companies, 100 cedis is cheap for them on the number of transactions they will do, looking at their volume? An individual, what is really 100 cedis today? What can 100 cedis buy for you? Do you think if I have a mother and a dad who are all retired and I have to take care of them, 100 cedis a day, it's enough to take care of them? Assuming you have 2 kids who would need transport to school, who would need feeding. I mean, so you will ask, is she really in Ghana? And that is what sometimes gives people the perception that people in the political class are enjoying because of such talks. And that's why I said we should pardon her. It's like a platform talk. I
mean, well thought
through. It's not a well thought through.
There's the other one in which somebody I think an interviewer drew the energy minister's attention to the fact that sometimes you're talking about the same amounts. So somebody sends you 1,000 Ghana. Out of that 1,000 Ghana, the person who is sending it pays 1.75% on it. But once you have the money, your mother needs 200, your sister needs 200, somebody else needs 300. You want to do something else with the money, and always you move them about through Momo. So let's say even assume that you withdraw, 200 out of the money. You're charging 1.75. The money you sent to your mother, 1.75.
Don't forget the charges.
1.75 plus the charges. And he's asking, it's the same money that you took the 1.75 on.
Which
you're still taking more
1.75
on.
Yes.
And then, so you are taxing money that's already taxed on several occasions.
In fact, if I take my salary that salary is being taxed already, has suffered tax already.
The income tax that's charged.
Exactly, at various rates. I might be paying a final of either 17.5 or 25 based on the income I earn. And then I decide to send my mom 1,000 cedis. That money, again, will suffer charges and taxes. Now, when that money gets to my mom, who is also on Momo, and the one he's going to buy food stuff from is also using Momo, right? And my mom decided to buy rice, a bag of rice, which is selling around 250, right, for the month. My mom would also pay charges plus the tax of 1.75. This is an erosion of money for trade. And once we cannot increase trade, so my mom's purchasing ability has been brought down. I will now have to consider whether I have to take the money physically to my mom, right, to avoid it. And this is how you keep people away, to maintain the purchasing power. Because you see, if this was done after you revising our PAYE rate and our tax rate, then you are justified. So if government had said that, okay, I'm taxing you zero at 219 Ghana cedis. Now I'm going to do it 500. So government can say, oh, now you have more money in your pocket. And I'm taking a bit of that. But that's not the case. You have given nothing to us.
You're taking.
Yet you are taking from the same amount we earn.
Okay.
What you are doing is that my dispensable income or my purchasing power is being taken away through taxes. My ability to go out there to buy the produce from our factories and all that, right, is also limited. And so you see how the system shrinks and keeps shrinking, and our appetite for more tasks keep growing. You are not giving anything to the system.
You are taking.
But you keep taking. How do you expect it to grow?
Okay, so the energy minister compares this tax to VAT.
Yeah. You cannot. In fact, you cannot. Again, that's why he's an energy minister. It's not.
Are you suggesting he doesn't know what he's talking about?
Of course. I mean, you cannot recover the 1.75%.
Okay.
You can recover VAT.
Oh, okay.
Right? So if I am in business, I'm an individual, self-employed person, or whatever, and I purchase something from you and you give me a VAT, the VAT, the 12.5, I'm allowed to claim it back from government. So if I should sell or produce anything and receive income, that income is also taxed. And so it is only the final consumer who pays VAT.
Okay. But the producer actually takes the money back.
Exactly. Because you will take it back from government. You will claim it back from government through your filings, your monthly filings. With this, you don't have that opportunity. You cannot claim it back. So if you pay, it is a cost to you. I will also pay, it is a cost to me. Someone else pays, it is a cost to that person. So there is no way to compare. That's why he's an energy minister. So,
well, there's also the suggestion that, and I think it's a comment that has been made by government over and over again. Whenever you say you are charging people, they said, no, we are charging transactions.
Well, what do you mean charging transactions? Do you know the ITA 2015, the Income Tax Act, exempt trading stock? What is the spirit behind those letters? What is trading stock? If you sell biscuits, and I take the biscuits from you, I buy the biscuits to also sell, the tax laws exempt you from taking withholding tax from me. Why?
Okay, so if I am the one, so basically the retailer.
Yes.
So for example, if somebody comes, those who do the hawking.
Exactly.
The person comes to buy maybe a bag of pure water, exactly, and says is going to hawk that bag, exactly, of pure water. I, who am selling, yes, I cannot take withholding tax from the person with.
Exactly, absolutely.
Why?
You are not allowed to take withholding. You see, the withholding tax plays the responsibility of withholding, okay, on the one paying. Okay. So let's assume the one buying from you the sachet water to hawk, right? In paying you, naturally the law says that you should withhold tax from you. Okay. There are different rates, 3%, 5%, and all that. In terms of trading stock, because he or she is going to trade in the water, it is exempted by the law. Okay. The reason for doing that is to maintain your volume.
Oh, okay.
So that the one buying can actually buy enough to sell.
Okay. Buy more.
Generates more income. Okay. And that is where government tax. But government cannot wait until the end of the year before you pay him taxes. And that is why he says, give me a percentage whilst you sell. Okay. Right? Now, what we have done with all these things is to say that, okay, we are not withholding you, but we are taxing you on your working capital, which cannot be claimed. Well, the act is not out yet, so we don't know whether that 1.75 will be part of our tax paying. So that just like we would use VIT, vehicle income tax, and all that, and classify all that as tax payment at the end of the year and deduct it from our liability towards the GRA, right? Well, we will need to wait to see how the act will be couched. Yeah.
But it's clearly what has been announced. And
as for what has been announced, you can't take it to market.
Because from listening to you, it seems they need a lot of tidying up.
Oh, of course, a lot, and it is in their own interest if they will have to rake in good revenues to support our expenditure bill. Because already we have a very huge deficit to close, and we keep borrowing. And you know where our debt is now. If you spread our debt over 15 to 20 years, you are looking at 17 billion almost every year to pay.
We have to raise 17 billion
every year.
That's significant.
Exactly. When you are making around 50 billion.
Yeah.
Between 50 to 70 billion.
I'll bring you back to the fine numbers. But before we do that, because we are just talking about the measures that they've put in place. The other one that has attracted a lot of attention, this whole matter of the tolls. That we wake up one morning, something said in the budget says this thing takes effect after approval of budget, the day after. Then you see everybody, you are not paying tolls anymore. Why do you think that was an easy decision to take, especially the government that 47 billion is they are targeting 70 billion, 47 billion in September, which means I have to raise 23 billion. They are discounting the value of tolls. Why was that as an easy decision to just take?
Well, I think it was to gain support for the budget.
Okay.
They knew this is a budget which really people will come after.
Okay.
And it will not be accepted by the generality of Ghanaians. So quickly we have to give something out for
propaganda stunt.
for people to give quiet and to keep quiet. And I think that has been the style of this government for quite some time. They see those who would make noise and they make them keep quiet nicely. And that is why things are going bad. And it seems that no one is talking because you cannot talk. If you talk, they either come after you or they make you a good friend and you can no longer talk. And that's what they did. They felt that the majority of people will love the toll being taken off. But they are wrong. Absolutely wrong. Look, if you are taking about 78 million out of the tolls, already you are not able to meet your target in terms of revenues. And you are taking 78 million out of it, when in fact you don't even know how this e-levy will go. Then what does that tell you? That should tell you something. That this is a government that is desperate. Why are they desperate? Because they have mismanaged our finances. Bottom line.
They've mismanaged it.
Yes.
Because if you listen to them, they're saying that it seems they are the best people to run Ghana at this
Well,
time.
the numbers don't speak to that. Let's grant it. Debt to GDP. Right? In 2016. And debt to GDP today. Which one is better? Now, look at interest expense to revenue in 2016 and compare that to today. When you claim to have expanded the economy, you are raising more revenues, you have brought in more taxes. I mean, they should allow us at least to speak to the figures. You cannot just, I mean, they keep saying that propaganda, people uses propaganda, but I think they have mastered propaganda. Because they are telling us the exact opposite of what is happening. And they expect all of us to believe, which is very unfortunate. And that is also not being transparent. Look, you have a new revenue line. 1% COVID. We were told what the COVID was going to be used for. If I ask you today, the budget was read. We knew how much we made in terms of the revenue line, COVID 1%. Do we know what those monies were used for? And whether it was used for the purpose for which the tax was imposed?
That was not disclosed in the budget.
Okay. We also had to pay baller tax. Were we told how much that baller tax brought in? And what we spent that baller tax for? No. So where is the transparency? For a government that claimed to be so transparent, where is the transparency? So when you come back and say I should pay e-levy, and you did not even assign anything to it, what is the purpose for the e-levy? For you to go on the digitalization spree and keep spending? The ICOMs, how much was spent on it? 2020, the ICOMs was in operation. You rake in 8 billion. When yourself, you have budgeted 5.9. And you did not investigate to know exactly why? Okay, so in COVID year, you made 8 billion. And in 2021 budget, you targeted 6 billion. Is government enjoying the leakage? It's a question we all need to ask. We saw Professor Mills going to the port after analysis, expose, and all the actions he took.
No, I think some clarity is required on the ICOM since the new platform that's taken over from the West Blue platform that was being used.
Exactly.
Okay. You said you budgeted how much?
You budgeted 5.9.
Okay.
That's your initial budget. Revised budget downwards 5.4.
Okay.
You got 8.1 billion.
Mm-hmm.
I think you should investigate. Because for me, sitting back and analyzing, I would have said that, okay, because people did not move around that much in the year of COVID, right?
Mm-hmm.
People couldn't really interfere with the system.
Okay.
So we got more revenue. We open up, people can now interfere with the system, right?
Okay.
Take containers out without paying anything. And therefore, that is the reason why you yourself as a government, you agreed to what is going on, the leakages that is going on at the port, to have budgeted 6 billion. If you do know the reason why you made 8 billion in 2020 and still went ahead to budget downwards 6.2 billion.
So the projection for 2022 is 6 billion.
The projection for 2021 was 6 billion.
Okay.
When you have made 8 billion in 2020.
That's interesting.
Exactly. And I'm asking, what are you telling us? What contributed over 3 billion
being taken out of the bracket?
Exactly.
Perhaps maybe they were thinking 2021 there's less activity.
Why? When we are opened up, when we are all driving, we are all using fuel, you are consuming more. When we used to be in the house, you just eat and sleep.
And that was 8 billion, over 2 billion over your...
Exactly.
So the numbers that they are even putting out doesn't...
The numbers don't really speak to what they are saying. I mean, what they are saying and the numbers. I mean, there is no correlation.
And another thing that people who are operating in the... every Ghanaian has to confront is the fees and charges.
Exactly.
That we are looking at 15%. Is that that's the list?
Yes.
At least 15%. Yeah. An increase in fees and charges.
Exactly.
That one doesn't seem to be attracting as much attention because... But how significant is that?
Very significant. Very significant. Now, if you are talking about government fees, in fact, it's cut across all. So, look, you should expect that your vehicle expenditures in terms of registration and all that is going up.
Okay. So when you do DVLA...
Exactly. Exactly. Licenses, the food and drug boards and all those who want to do business is going up by 15%. Okay. Getting your manufacturing license and all that you need to pay is going up.
15%.
Exactly. The municipal assemblies, whatever they charge, should go up 15%. Okay. Now, if you say all fees, that is really broad.
Widely spread.
Exactly.
So which means and even for passports, if you're getting a new passport today, those who are getting the Express Ghana card among others, 15%.
15%. And mind you, if you decide to pay through Momo.
Yeah. Then your problems have been compounded. Well, so all this plus, is there any other revenue measure that perhaps we are missing that's been put in the budget? Because we seem to be paying attention to the fees and charges, e-levy, benchmark. Those are the major ones.
I think the other thing they did was to stop this, how do you call it, 3% on trading volume above 500,000.
Yes, yes.
It's another thing that a lot of us have overlooked. In fact, I have had occasion to write to the Presidency, Ministry of Finance, and the Commissioner of JRA, telling them that, look, this particular decision you took in the practice notes, it goes contrary to what the Act itself says. Because the Act says that everybody, I think Section 32C or so, says every business in the business of retail and wholesale should actually be under the standard rates. So from all these years, what is happening is that the prices of manufacturers were so unattractive compared to retailers. Now, retailers then have the entire VAT component and the levies as cost, and on top of that charges 3%. So their margin comes and then they charge 3% as flat rate, and the entire amount goes to government. When they did that, they assume making so much money. So they continue on that tangent, even with all the warnings being contrary to the law. They still went ahead and do it. Why are they changing it now? Because you are killing the Ghanaian manufacturer. Since 2018, you've perpetrated this illegality up to date. And you are taking it off when it doesn't suit you. So this is a government of self-interest. Where they feel it suits them most, it will solve their problem for whatever they say out there. Then they will act on it. But they don't find reason to look at the issues, even when you have raised cogent reasons why they should do that. Now, what is going to happen is the administration bottlenecks that will occur with this. People have stock sitting in their warehouses, and they have costed this stock with the VAT as part of their cost. Now you are saying that they should switch to the standard rate. What it means is that you would have to grant that VAT sitting in their stock. That input, you have to grant it. And this is going to take administrative resources. This is going to mean that accountants of these companies will have to do extra work. For what? Just because you refuse to listen. And one of the things about tax is stability. And what surprises me so much, that under the Kufuor administration, the flat rate was introduced. So are they saying they couldn't learn from that? Or they felt they were so better than the handlers back then? Because it was given to the smaller businesses. The flat rate was given to the smaller, and a threshold was placed. And they even went ahead to use this point of sales, so that at the end of the month, for a Mokola woman, her tax can be determined for her. She does not need an accountant. That was not digitalization. You see, this government has disrespected the history, the economic history of this nation, and that is why they are suffering. And that is why they will suffer, and they will be embarrassed.
Suffer and be embarrassed.
Oh, yes.
Because even in the e-levy thing, there are people who are saying what you're doing you're doing it without, it's as if you don't learn lessons that other African countries have tried this.
Of course.
Including the Cote d'Ivoire that you're talking
Of
about.
course.
And they've decided, oh no, that it is not worth it.
I mean, I have said somewhere, and it is not a prophecy, but at the end of 2022, we wouldn't have raked in more than 1% of our total revenue from e-levy.
More than
1%.
You're talking about 6 billion.
Yes.
6 billion, 1%, like 6 million.
I'm saying we will not rake in more than 1%.
That's an audacious prediction.
Well, let's see. We will get back here 2022.
Yes, we'll have a conversation
when God gives us life.
Yes, that's all we pray for.
Exactly.
But you talk about the fact that everything this government does is influenced by their. I think I've forgotten, but you were talking about their selfish interest.
Yes.
Is that what you see in the budget? Because everybody is looking at the figures and they are saying all this government wants to do is to give a better impression to the people, the people who hold bonds, and also people who would be interested in future bonds. That's all they want, so that they can borrow more. Is that the impression they create in the budget?
Well, whether they give more, whether people go onto the bonds and all that. Look, it is one simple thing. And that's one aspect of the budget we don't look at.
Okay.
How we manage our currency.
The cedi.
The cedi. I wrote a letter to BOG requesting certain information because apparently figures put in the budget does not tally with what Bank of Ghana is posting on its website.
Figures in the budget in Bank of Ghana?
Yes. And I'm talking about our M2 plus figures.
Which are those?
Which are deposits in terms of our foreign currency deposits.
Okay.
The demand deposits, savings and times deposits, and then currency with the public.
Okay.
You see, the management of this is very essential to the strength of the cedi on its own, not the strength of the cedi compared to other currencies. Okay. That is Baume's logic. He looks at the strength of the cedi only against other currency, and tend to forget that the cedi on its own, left on its own, loses or gains value.
Okay.
And if you
without that competition.
And it is how you manage money in circulation.
Okay.
They pump it up to about 120 billion.
Okay. That's the money in circulation.
Yes. Around to 20 when did they print these new currencies? Some few years back.
Yes, the new ones, the 100 cedis knows.
Now you should monitor where we are now. We are around 90.
So less.
So is the money evaporating? Let's take out the foreign currencies, the deposit of foreign currency. And the situation is even worse. You know, earlier I've spoken about gold. If we are able to produce 100% of what we have in terms of gold reserve all over the world, the price of gold automatically will come down. Right? Now, when you pump up the quantity of currency in circulation, you are weakening the currency. Okay. But now, when you put money in terms of the volumes in the system, and all of a sudden, it is evaporating, we should know why. How is the management of the currency itself by BOG being done. And what are the benefits? Check the last few figures, and you will realize that people are moving away from time savings, the fixed deposit and all that.
Yeah.
Because you see, it will not be attractive to put my CD in your hands for even 90 days. When I get back my money, it has so much depreciated that I cannot have real value to do what I wish to do with the money. And that is how the market will react. Now, if they are taking out the money from savings, your foreign currency deposit is reducing. Currency with the public is also reducing. Demand deposit has also drastically reduced. Then we need to start asking questions. Where is the money going? Is it going into new orientations? Because even Togo, you can't take our CD to Togo. Neither can you take it to Burkina or Ivory Coast.
Yeah, it stays within.
So it stays within Ghana. So what is accounting for the rapid reduction in the volume of money
in circulation?
Most times, they keep us busy, so busy with the taxes, and we forget to look at the management of the currency by BOG. We must closely look at the activities of BOG. They are not just our bankers. They are managing the currency as well. So we should fault them when the currency keep depreciating on its own strength. Check the CPIU from when this government came into power and today, and you would have realized the depreciation of the value of the city.
And that is based on circulation alone.
Exactly. The activities of money.
Okay.
How you and I will react to policies, government policies. It's all in there.
So what you do with money immediately you hear, they are introducing e-levy. Exactly. Affects the depreciation and the value of the city.
Absolutely. Because people will react. Hey, misika na ewo ho no me koji. Challenge agien shika adani abon chemo.
So one aspect that we need to pay attention to.
Exactly. How our market react. Our market will not react like the US market will react. Okay. Ghanaian markets also have a special way or a peculiar way of reacting to some of these things. You might think we do not understand finances and all these financial jargons being thrown around.
We do understand money.
Oh yes, the Mokola woman understands money more than someone sitting and working at the banks. They play with money more than you can think that they are savvy for. So it is about time that we do a more holistic monitoring of our market behavior in setting out some of these policies.
Well, I think we have to be wrapping up now. But the question that I was asking this morning, and I think that's the question that everybody wants an answer to. At this time, a lot of the economists are looking at putting in place, I think, what they call expansionary measures to grow economic activity, so that a lot more money can be spent within the economy to grow it. What does this budget do, actually? what do you think the objective of this budget is? Because everybody is looking at it and wondering, is this time, is it the kind of budget we should be getting at this time?
Well, this budget is communicating to the markets and simply telling them that we are already booming.
Okay. Oh, things are good.
Things are good. That is what this budget is saying. That things are good out there. One, pay more. You can afford to pay more. Because government need more money. Yes, government need more money because of the appetite it has acquired. This government have acquired a certain appetite, and it will be difficult to reverse the appetite.
For spending.
For spending.
And a lot of people will say, what are you spending on? We can't see anything.
Exactly. And that is why I said earlier that we need to do better with our reporting.
Okay.
So that the people can also have some acceptance. Oh, this is how much we spent on COVID.
Okay.
We spent in this and that sectors.
Those areas.
Right? And this is how much. And then we can even attest to the adequacy or not of the tax you are collecting. So that when you come telling me that, look, the COVID expenses outweighs the revenues we generated from the 1%. So we need more. Then the people will accept that position.
Okay.
But as it stands, it's difficult. It has just become one revenue line. We don't know whatever that money is being spent for. One of the good characteristics of every tax is that it has to be adequate.
Okay.
The reason for taking that tax and the revenue you generate from taking that tax should be sufficient to pay for its needs.
Okay. So I take a sanitation levy. Has it generated the monies I expected and been able to put it for the use for which I generated the revenue? That's key.
Exactly. And have our sanitation improved.
Yeah. Okay.
Yet we are hearing that we are going to borrow for another toilets.
But would they be able to borrow from the international market specifically?
Well, when you give yourself a false hope that your economy is growing under difficult circumstances, that is what will lead you to say or assume that you would gain or get more taxes.
Okay.
And that illusion is what has led them on and on to where they are.
To the e-levy and everything that they are putting forward.
Exactly.
Well, there's I think there was maybe one thing that's missed me, but there's something I wanted to take you back to. We were talking about the economic management of this country.
Yeah.
I was having a conversation with a friend who is a wealth manager, who says, personally, he feels the finance minister does not have a capacity to run an economy, because per his analysis, the finance minister is just like him.
Absolutely.
And people like him don't run economies. What they do is that you find money, find some place, put it to generate some revenue for you. So you're just basically turning around money for people. And it looks like that's what our finance minister has been doing. Go to one bond market, do this and do that and do that. Is there a problem with capacity when it comes to the management of the economy over the past years?
Absolutely. And it's on both sides.
Okay. Not only
the head of the economic management team and the finance minister we have. Absolutely, there is a problem with capacity.
Oh, even Dr. Bawumia himself?
Yes, you see, all these fields have a certain, should I say, beliefs. And sometimes you tend to be, we tend to overlook it, but it's real. Now, let me take you back to their own government under the Kufuor administration. A lot of people really do not understand why President Kufuor had to shuffle and bring in Banredo instead of Osafo-Maafo.
Okay.
But that was the best thing to have done at that time. Trust me. You have somebody who is more into banking, raising of finance. And he's there, still there in the economic management team.
So finding money.
Yes. And that is what they see as success.
Oh, okay. That's how come we celebrate bonds.
Yes.
Okay.
So he says, we brought in 3 billion. And it was so good, we brought in 3 billion. He's not looking at the effects. The futuristic effect of that 3 billion on our budget. Now, when he was brought in, I was one of the first people to have criticized the decision. That it is wrong at the time of this government coming into power and therefore making a person who goes around raising funds more into investments and all that is involved in insurance and all that to be made a finance minister. We needed somebody who had a more accounting-based background, who would be more prudent. Okay. Let me tell you one of the things. Ghana needed money badly. After HIPIC, we couldn't go out there and borrow just like that. And one of the things that was done under Banredo was to sell SIC on the stock market. And that brought in a lot for government. I presume if we had Osafo-Maafo in there, you know what happened? We will be looking at hairdressing shops to go and borrow money. And that is what they have repeated. Something that was corrected under their own government. Most of these international banks watch their behavior in terms of who they put at the helm of affairs. When things are booming, they bring somebody who has more of a marketing mind to sit in there. The moment things slow down, they move that person out. They bring somebody who is more accounting bias. They bring that person in there. So you see, appointing people is not just about the CV, the qualification, and all that. You also have to look at the thinking, the mindset of the people to appoint them.
And you're also talking about, because you're mentioning the time and the circumstances.
Exactly. You know, it is a big fault line to actually keep this finance minister there for all this period. Okay. It is actually a failure on somebody's part who cannot really comprehend the times we are in. Look, the best opportunity was when COVID struck. Quickly, he should have been replaced.
Okay.
If I should sit back and give my honest opinion about these budgets and who actually prepared the budgets, I will say that it was prepared by a cashier.
A cashier prepared the budget?
Yes.
Why? Why do you say so?
Oh, you know how now we have upgraded their names and we call them tellers. You know, but a cashier basically takes money and gives money out without thinking about the effects of he or she is not supposed to be worried about the effects. So whoever put up this budget is really not looking at the real consequences or the reaction, the market reaction to most of the things they have put out there. Now, when you talk, they will tell you, oh, we are putting you start this, we are putting something in the economy and blah, 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 blah. Look, what you put in the economy about 600 and what? About 650 million through the MBSSI. A year on, what is the effect? Can government really account to us the performance of that facilities that were given? Then you come back and tell me I'm going to even give bigger. Maybe government have accounted to us that during COVID, we supported people to the tune of 650 million. Out of that, we have recovered this. This is the balance outstanding.
Okay.
This is how it has transformed businesses. Failure to do that, you have no justification to claim to be putting 1 billion. That 1 billion will go to who? If somebody receives 10,000 cedis, and again receive it on Momo, goes to register a business, probably is operating without any form of formalization. He goes to register a business. He's almost going to spend about 1,000 cedis registering the business. He goes to register his file at the GRA. He will be told, come and pay 2,000 cedis deposits when you have not even started trading or doing anything. Say, oh, we will assess you. That is what is happening. That is the reality. You see, I think they are too far from reality. So the 10,000 you give to the person might just come down to 7,000 before the person gets started.
That's money that they spent on
Exactly.
bureaucratic procedures.
Exactly. Recently, I decided to start something small in the mining industry. We had not even begun anything. We went to the GRA. They look at our CVs, they look at our this and said, oh, come and pay 4,000. That is the reality on the ground.
That needs to be addressed.
Absolutely. A young man walks into GRA to register a file, be compliant, and the first thing is he will be assessed for tax. How do you like that?
Assessed.
Yes, they will assess you for tax.
A new entrepreneur who hasn't even made a penny yet.
Absolutely.
Oh, so they assess you based on your... So you were assessed based on your CV and everything.
Oh, yes. That's what I will say.
That's how you feel?
Yes.
But how does that help business?
And therefore, that is why they should rather look at doing business, the cost of doing business.
Okay.
Not at their point where they are only looking at policies. But they should look at realities on the ground. What is happening to businesses? How difficult it is to produce services and products in this country. Sometimes I cry for manufacturers. One day I'll take you along. See the number of certificates hanging on manufacturers' walls. AMA will come. Health Directorate will come. Food and Drug Board will come. Standard boards will come. All these people would come at this point of the year. They need you to do this assessment. They need you to do that assessment. And all these things comes at a cost. The businessman does not have time to waste on some of these things. The businessman needs his time and energy and resources to pump up production. GRA will come in for audit. They will sit in a month You have to pay attention to them rather than your business. Because if you fail to do that, they will hit you with an assessment that will collapse your business. These are the realities. And therefore, in the implementation of taxes, you are looking at removing some of these administrative bottlenecks, making things more simpler for businesses, enforcing more of compliance rather than audit. That is what you do. But that is not what is happening on the ground, bottom line.
In the spirit of that, then perhaps I should land on the note of entrepreneurship that is being encouraged. Our finance minister says the public payroll is full. They are encouraging a lot more people to get into entrepreneurship. Would that be easy?
Well, look, our ability to go into business as Ghanaian did not start today.
Okay.
In fact, I'll say that at some point, our Ghanaian women held up this economy for several decades in terms of Mokola and all our markets. They were doing the business. They were having the money. They were even supporting politics and politicians. Right? So the ability of the Ghanaian to go into business is no doubt a thing with us. What we do not have is the support to make us globally competitive.
Okay.
How is Ghana supporting me to produce a service that will be bought
Anywhere in the world?
Anywhere in the world.
Okay.
So that I can sit here in Ghana and provide an advisory services to someone or a company in the UK. How am I supported to do that?
Okay.
But most people are supported by UK businesses, right? You have the likes of QuickBooks, online and all that. That would even go to the extent of computing your taxes for you, doing all sorts of things. You just have to give them some few inputs and all that. You have people sitting in India that you scan your documents to, and then they will offer you an accounting service. How are you supporting me, a Ghanaian entrepreneur? Those of us already in the system, where is the support? You are encouraging others to join. What is the support for those of us already in here? Because I cannot be competitive. One, I cannot beat the Indian pricing. My internet is so poor, I cannot compete online. My staff cost is so high. I have to pay 13% of salary to SNIT. I have to pay PAYE minimum at 17.5%. If you need to pay any good accountant a good salary. So tell me how you are supporting me when you are asking that entrepreneur to operate under the same condition all these multinationals are doing. When this entrepreneur cannot afford an accountant. So you are just setting them up for failure, and they will fail. 99% will fail. And if they fail, the money you have put in there has failed. It's as simple as that.
Well, all this is happening at a time when the government in power is center-right, I believe.
Exactly.
So we should be seeing more from them.
Of course. I thought they will learn from their own colleagues in the US who, after the Second World War, established the SBA to support businesses. You see, most of these businesses you see, like Facebook and all that, they wouldn't have become giants if the American system did not support them. So don't tell us as if you are encouraging us to go into entrepreneurship. Myself, as an example, I worked at PKF Ghana for 5 years, Glyco for barely a year, and I set up my own firm. I did not need your encouragement. I saw the opening. And equally, a lot of us could do the same. Do you know why they cannot do that? Because the system is hostile to any Ghanaian young man who wishes to go into entrepreneurship. You are muzzled out. You cannot compete. Look, trust me, what they are doing, the 1 billion. I dare government to keep that 1 billion. And in the acquisition of goods and services, they should give it to Ghanaian young men and women entrepreneurs. What portion of your contract comes to us? Or we cannot pay good kickbacks. The reason why we are not targeted for jobs, government, goods and services, or you do not trust in our capabilities to perform. So if you are not prepared to give portions of your contracts to young men and women who have the courage, with all the stress in the system, to challenge themselves and get out there, what business do you have committing 1 billion? Is it a dash? Because I bet you that is what this money is for. They want to stimulate it just like they stimulate it to win an elections. Because they realize probably they have lost the goodwill.